Hi, Democrats. Today is Thursday, July 13th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Thursday. So, I spent some time on MSNBC in the last couple of days, and it's crazy on the national level. So many things, just craziness between the national news and Twitter. Wow. But I always like to talk about what's happening here locally. And so I thought today what I would do is I would talk about why do I focus on local stuff when it feels like the nation's going crazy, right? Um, let's be clear before I get into my little tirade. Bidenomics is working. Inflation has come down for 12 months in a row. We have the lowest inflation in 50 years. Regardless of what they want to go on Fox News and scream, Bidenomics is working. It's just that simple. And it's working for the folks in the middle. And that was what the president's plan was, from the middle out and the bottom up. And those are the people who are seeing it the most. Now, the folks who are at the top, those jobs, there aren't that many jobs for those folks. And so maybe they don't see it. And maybe that's why they're screaming about it. But middle out and bottom up, it's getting easier to breathe. It's getting easier to pay your bills. It's getting easier just to exist. So I wanted to say that on a national level. Now let's bring it back to Oklahoma. I had an occasion to call a state chair friend of mine today to share with her, because they keep track of these kinds of things, share with her that Oklahoma finally has online voters registration. Because when I get with my chair friends, they're all mad that they can't do instant voter registration, same day voters registration. They're mad about their ballot boxes. And I sit there quietly because to me, those are first world problems. Because in Oklahoma, until this week, we didn't even have online voters registration. We have online voters registration. I'm very happy about it, even though it took 8 whole years after we voted for it. But we have it. We have online voters registration. I'm very excited about it. But hear this. Oklahoma was the 41st state to get it. Once again, we're in the bottom 10. 40 other states already had online voters registration before we did. We're in the bottom 10. We voted for it 8 years ago. It took us 8 years to get there, but we have it. So let's stay positive and be glad that we have it. So I'm always talking about local stuff. And here's why. Roe versus Wade. Last summer, we found out, the news was that Roe was overturned. The reality of it was not so much that it was overturned, that it being a federal right was overturned, and they decided to let the states decide, to push it down to the states. And so who we vote on a state level to represent us in our state legislature, in the state house, in the state senate, matters, because that is who is putting up the bills about abortion. And right now, we have a bunch of zealots who are super concerned with what other people are doing in their bedrooms and bathrooms. And because of that, our rights to our bodily autonomy are being wiped away. Local elections matter. So abortion was a national right, was a federal right for 49 years. And we thought that it was static. We thought we could check the box and move on. And they said, you know what, let's make this a state issue. Let's make it closer to the people, because they knew that they could dismantle it in little bitty baby parts. And that's what we've seen all over the country, and particularly in our state. It matters. Every election matters. Local elections matter. It's important that we are aware of what is happening. So locally, we voted for online voters registration. And then we kept electing people who didn't prioritize it. And so it took us 8 years to get there. And thanks goes to, so if you run into her, if you have her email, thanks goes to Senator Kurt, who threw down the gauntlet this legislative cycle and demanded that online voters registration become a reality in this calendar year. And so now it is a reality. Now, I'm not saying she did it all, but I am grateful for her for putting her foot down. I am grateful for her for following up on it and making it an issue. And now we have online voters registration that happens locally. We voted for it. Nationally, 40 other states have it. And if it were a federal law, perhaps we could have already had it. Same thing with Roe versus Wade. You remember how COVID was a worldwide pandemic? And then we had two different presidents decide what we were going to do about it on a national level. And then what we decided to do in a state, so embarrassing. There was money pushed to our state to help kids stay in school. That money was mismanaged. There were federal dollars sent to our state with the intention of helping kids stay in school. By the time it got to our state, we mismanaged it. Who we elect matters. There was federal money pushed down to our state to help with rental assistance, people who needed money to help pay their rent. There was federal dollars sent to us, and it was mismanaged when it got to our state. Who we elect locally matters. Those are just a couple of examples of why it is not a good idea to ignore it, why it's not a good idea to only focus on Congress and Senate and the president. Now, be clear, I'm not saying that those aren't important. Those are very important. We are being able to address inflation because of who we elected as president. Let's talk about who we elected to represent us in the state Senate and in Congress. Whew. Senator Markwayne Mullin and Congressman Kern are both on record as being against student loan debt forgiveness. Both of them put out statements. They are against student loan debt forgiveness because if somebody takes out a loan, they should pay it back. You know what? You could almost go with that logic, except that both of them took out PPP loans that were forgiven. They took out loans that weren't paid back. And then when someone else had an opportunity for some forgiveness of a loan, they're like, oh no, that's where we draw the line. They're hypocrites. We've elected hypocrites. They were both in Congress when that happened. We elected hypocrites. It's important who we elect. I'm just going to reel that back in. Senator Mullin and Congressman Cole are both on record holding up military promotions and military recruitment because they want to hold on to their ideals and their beliefs and impose their ideas and their beliefs with regards to abortion on the military. They're both on record. That's who we sent to DC. We sent hypocrites. We sent people who don't just mind their business. They care about what other people are doing in their bedrooms and bathrooms. It's important who we elect. And I just want to talk about it on real world terms because we talk about it just, with labels and Democrats versus Republicans, blah, blah, blah. No, I want to talk about actual people and actual decisions that affect what we do in Oklahoma on the regular. Every election matters. I say this, and why am I talking about this when our next big election is 479 days away? Because in the meantime, we have a special election coming up in Lawton in the next couple of months. We have municipal elections that are happening all over the state, and folks will ignore them waiting for the election that's happening in 479 days. And I want to strongly encourage you to pay attention to every election. Every time there is a ballot with your name on it, you need to show up and cast it. Every time. Here's the reality. Republicans in Oklahoma have decided that Democrats don't matter. They absolutely believe that we're not going to challenge them. And if we do, we're not going to put up a real fight. We have to change that perception by putting up a real fight. When there's a Democrat on your ballot, you need to engage with them. You need to support them. You need to vote for them. That's the only way we elect Democrats. By waiting to see if they get some momentum, you're almost guaranteeing that they won't get momentum because momentum is built flake by flake by flake. brick by brick by brick. And so if you're waiting to see how many more bricks they get before you give them a brick, you're almost guaranteeing that they don't get a brick. Give them a brick. Give them $1. Give them an hour of your time. Give them a tweet, a retweet, a share, a shared post. Give them everything that you can give them to help them on their way. So, like I said, we have a special election in Lawton. As soon as we know the dates, we will make sure that you're aware of that. Tulsa has an announced candidate for mayor who I'm super excited about. Monroe Nichols announced today that he is running for mayor of Tulsa. Super excited about that. 2 candidates have announced to run for his seat that he'll be vacating. So this election train is moving. We have candidates running in Lawton. We have all of our incumbents who are running all over the state. We have candidates announcing in Tulsa, and we just got candidates announcing everywhere. And I'm saying this because I want you to get behind them now. So if somebody calls you, we got candidates in Oklahoma City. Somebody calls you and says, I'm running for office. Will you help me? The answer is not, and hear me, the answer is not, well, call me when it gets closer to the election. The answer is, how can I help? That's what you have to do right now. Right now, because they cannot file until April. You don't want them to get discouraged between now and April and decide not to run. And that's what will happen if they don't get the bricks, if they don't get the support. The answer is, how can I help? And if you're in a position where you can donate, donate. If you're in a position where you can donate but only a little, I promise you they'll take that little. If you say to a candidate, I don't have a lot of money, but I can donate $10 a month until your election, I assure you that they will be excited about that because that allows them to plan. It doesn't have to be $500 checks, $1,000 checks. Now, if you have a $500 check and a $1,000 check, I'm telling you they'll take it. But constant recurring donations allow folks to plan, which brings me around to the Oklahoma Democratic Party. We are here to support those candidates. We are here to provide training. So if you want to go volunteer to a candidate, you can volunteer for a candidate, you can show up prepared. We too need help. And just like the candidates, we will gratefully accept $10 a month or a $1,000 check. So if you want to sign up for $10 a month recurring donations, go out to okdemocrats.org/donate. We will be so incredibly grateful. If you don't want to mess with that and you just want to write us a $500 check, we will be incredibly grateful. We have work to do between now and the election, 479 days away. We have work to do. We need your help. If you're ready to volunteer, right? If what you have is your time and you're ready to volunteer, thank you. Reach out to your county chairs and go out to okdemocrats.org, click on our party, find your county chair, reach out to your county chair and ask them how you can help. Ask them how you can help. We all need help right now building the foundation to make it easier to navigate for our candidates. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow at 4:15.